The Center for the Future of Arizona recently commissioned a report that looked at what it would mean to Arizona's economy if the state would act on priorities that voters agree on across party lines. The report is titled Unlocking Potential, Turn Arizona Priorities into Economic Gains. And joining us now is Sybil Francis, President and CEO of the Center for the Future of Arizona. And we also welcome economist Jim Rounds from the Rounds Consulting Group. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us. Sybil, I'm going to start with you. What is this report all about? Why was it commissioned? What were you looking for?
So, Ted, I've been on your show before to talk about our Gallup survey and our Arizona Voters Agenda and what we try to understand about Arizonans. And as you recall, we've discovered that Arizonans agree on much more than we disagree on big, important issues like education, jobs, the environment, healthcare, and others. And so we thought, why don't we find out what would happen, what impact would there be on families and our state's economy if we actually achieved the outcomes that Arizonans say they care about.
And real quickly, those priorities are determined by these reports that we've talked about over the years. These are basically surveys and polls.
Yes, we've done public opinion survey research for over 15 years, so we have a really, really deep bench of data that show what Arizonans believe across our state, across political lines, and in rural and urban areas. So we have a very, very good handle on what Arizonans care about. So we thought, why don't we take the next logical step and say, if we know what Arizonans care about, what would happen if we actually achieved the outcomes that they want? Would that be a cost, or would there be a return on that?
How did you go about researching this? How did you go about trying to figure out the X's and the O's?
This gets back to the old ROI analyses that we're always bringing up when we visit. Is it going to cost the taxpayer more or less than the implementation versus what they're going to gain from economic activity? So you look at things like with housing. If we got everybody down to just 30% of their income spent on housing, we'd have 125,000 extra jobs created. We'd have about $600 million in extra tax revenue and an extra $8,400 a year per household. Well, can we spend less than that to maybe get that percentage down? I would say yes. That's something that we have to come up with some clever ideas, but it shows, that's just one example. We tried to do the same thing across the spectrum. It shows that you can put some math behind what the voters want to see. And I thought it was just a fascinating exercise. This was one of my favorite exercises of the last couple of years.
Yeah, and interesting, you got the math right there, but the results also stabilize communities, they preserve resources, correct?
Absolutely. If you look at, for example, we looked at childcare, and we know that people have trouble finding available childcare, or it's too expensive. And we often think of that as a problem of families, and if we take care of that issue, we're trying to help families. It's kind of like considered a handout. But if you think about it, and we know from our own data, if childcare is too expensive or not available, then people are not going back to work, or they're missing work, or they're not going back to school, so they're not participating in the economy. So of course, if someone wants to stay home with their children, that's totally great, but they should have that choice. And if they make that choice, if they don't pay so much for their childcare, then they're contributing to a successful economy.
Contributing to an economy, also contributing to employers who need that stability, who need that workforce.
Yes, and they can potentially be partners too. Right now, if we got everything back into equilibrium between supply and demand and pricing was fair, we'd add an extra $5 billion to the state's economy because we'd have more people working, making more money, paying tax revenues. We just have to come up with some clever ways, depending on where we are in the business cycle, of implementing this stuff.
Yeah.
But on so many of these projects, you can start having a positive return on investment for the taxpayer within the next year. There's longer term things that we talked about, like with transportation, you want to look at benefits over a couple of decades, things like that. But these types of programs, they can be implemented this coming year and yield a positive return the next.
But I want to talk about transportation and investing in transportation infrastructure. For every $1 invested, you got what, $1.60 to $3.70 returned?
And that's actually a moderate ROI. Some of the others that we've been calculating have been even higher. But transportation is one of those foundational items. And so in the past, when we've talked about how do we improve the economy, it's been tax code, then it went to economic development programs, then it went to regulatory reform. Now we're fine-tuning that vehicle instead of building it, and we're trying to figure out how can we make the rest of the economy more efficient. And the ROI on some of these projects are higher than the dozens of economic development programs that we've worked on over the last couple of decades. It's incredible.
And again, Sybil, again, this is something that we're looking at households. It saves households money to have a good infrastructure regarding transportation.
Well, absolutely. When you think about your car getting wrecked by potholes, being late to work, missing work, if you're a small business person, the problems of transportation around on bad roads. I mean, there's so many of extra fuel costs for poor infrastructure. There's so many ways that you're saving.
And everything we've talked about so far, these are things that your surveys have shown that there is a consensus out there. These aren't wild-eyed ideas on either end of the spectrum here. These are what Arizonans say they want. Do they really want it, Sybil, or are they just saying they want it?
No, they really want it. We've been looking at this for over 15 years. It's very clear that Arizonans are very practically minded. They're not asking for the moon. They're asking for things that will actually make their lives work better. And it also happens to be that making their lives work better will help the state's economy work better.
Well, why hasn't that message got across to leaders who actually have a role in making decisions to impact some of these things?
Well, we started the ROI discussion, at least some, at the Capitol the last handful of years. But what this shows is that it should be used more robustly. It should be used more often in making some of these decisions, because if we do things right, if we do these types of analyses on different measures of public policy, it might not be, we don't want to have childcare or childcare. It might be we want this more efficient type of childcare at these costs compared to something else, because we also want more affordable housing. We have to kind of figure out that balance. And doing more math, I always feel like, is better than doing less math when you're doing public policy. And historically, we've not done enough.
Yeah, please.
Well, I was going to say, it's also easy to see how if you're an elected leader, you have those pressures, being reelected every 2 years or 4 years or whatever it is, you're thinking about the short term, what are the short term costs? And it's much harder to look at the longer term return. So what we see ourselves doing is really trying to be of service and look at what these positive outcomes could be if you actually act on these priorities.
But it's also so much easier for the electorate to look at things ideologically as opposed to pragmatically. I mean, how can you bridge that? What can you do about that?
Well, at the Center for the Future of Arizona, this is our mission. Or this is a very important role that I see us playing, which is getting a handle on what it is that Arizonans care about, what our shared public values are, what the things that we have in common. And there's huge areas of common interest. And unfortunately, because of the partisan politics and politics of division, we hear much more from the extremes ideologically. We're not hearing from the practical people who want things to make their lives more successful.
And last question, Jim, you said this was a pretty rewarding thing for you to do, one of the most rewarding things you have done. Anything here surprise you? Anything just like, whoa?
Well, in the past, I hate to admit it, but I've always been concerned about the public being so involved in making legislation, all the initiatives, things like that. I thought there's no way they can be fully informed. The surveys, are they accurately done? And what I found is that they are, especially by this group, and the voters do seem to have a handle on the bigger picture items. And in some cases, they're split. But they focus on the ones where there's a little bit more consensus, so we know what they want. And it's like when we used to do the analyses for the universities and we do an ROI on the budget request. Not every request had a positive ROI, but that helped us redirect the money to the right places. So this is the next step in our evolution, and no other states are doing it this way. We are ahead of all other states. If we keep doing this, we're going to be in great shape coming out of this next slowdown period in the economy.
As long as leaders follow the people's lead, right? Is that the idea?
Absolutely.
All right. Good to have you both here. Good to see you both again. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.